Hello, everybody. Wild Man Z here. Not with a comic book review, but with a bodybuilding book review today. I'm sitting in my attic right now. It's a little cold outside. I was debating whether to work out or not. I didn't work out every day. I only work out maybe 4 days a week. And so I kind of, I'm in my New York house right now. I work out on my back porch. And so I kind of plan my workout days a little bit with the weather in midwinter because I really don't want to pump iron when it's 20 degrees out. When it's in 30s, it's not bad, but when it's 20s and the wind is blowing, it's a little too much. Sometimes I'll pull some my dumbbells in the house and just do arms and shoulders, but I really wanted to do legs. I'm still a little sore, so I'll do them tomorrow. So instead of doing that, I'm just focusing on my work and also pumping iron. You've probably seen the movie. If not, definitely Netflix it or wherever you care to do. This is the book that was based on it. I only bought this book a couple years ago. I've taken it out from libraries before, and I found it on Thrift Book, a copy of it, and so I decided just to have it. I've looked through it a million times from the library, but on the cover, that's Ed Corney. He passed away quite a while ago, in his 80s. He lived a long life. I think he was Hawaiian descent. I've actually seen him on stage as an older guy. He was probably about 50. This was what the poster was for the movie back in the day. If you get it from, if you have a DVD or something of which I have around, it won't have that. It'll usually have a picture of Arnold, but for some reason they put Ed Corney on the cover, which I'm not really sure why. He was definitely featured in the movie. He was Arnold's training partner at the time. They show him in a lot of scenes. He doesn't talk a lot, but he's in the background. I think he's doing squats with Arnold in one scene in there. Really, a really good bodybuilder. He was called the master poser, and even when I saw him, he was great, silver-haired. Really good poser. Not a perfect physique, kind of blocky waist, good arms. He's the kind of guy who, again, like I was talking about in my prior videos, he doesn't have like perfect genetics to be an elite bodybuilder, but he makes up for it with great posing. And there's a scene in Pumping Iron where he comes out and Arnold's like, "That's posing," like that. And so this book was written by Charles Gaines. Charles Gaines wrote the movie Stay Hungry. If you like Arnold movies, he's in it, although it's cited as his first movie, and he got an award for his first movie, but he was in Hercules Comes to New York before that. I think he conveniently forgot that when they nominated him for Best Supporting Actor. It's got an all-star cast. The movie that was based on Charles Gaines' book, Stay Hungry. It's got, I want to say Jeff Bridges and Sally Field, Flying Nun, and then Arnold's in it. He plays, he has it's like a Hispanic name or something in it. It doesn't make sense, but I forget his name, but he's a freewheeling bodybuilder. He's definitely streamlined down a little bit. He's maybe about 200 in that movie. He looks very athletically built. They didn't want him to be too bulky, but he plays this guy in the gym who kind of takes this rich Southern aristocrat and whose father recently died. He's taking over his real estate business, and he's, instead of him, the young man pursuing Jeff Bridges' real estate, Arnold gets him into a whole bunch of misadventures, gets him into the decadent lifestyle of working out in a gym, I think I have to review. There's a whole bunch of bodybuilders in it. There's a scene, if you Google online, something like bodybuilders run amok or bodybuilders running in the street from Stay Hungry. You'll see a scene with a whole bunch of bodybuilders from Gold's Gym. But I think the guy who played Freddy Krueger's in that too. And I can't remember the actor's name, but I believe Robert Eklund maybe. I think he's in that movie as well. But it's got an all-star cast. It's a goofy, fun movie from the early 70s. Kind of forgotten. Oh, here's a guy who I've met. That's Leon Brown. There are several gentlemen with the last name Brown in bodybuilding. John Brown, who I've also met. Leon, he passed away about a few years ago. He was well into his 80s. He competed until very late in life. I met him, this is 30 years ago. He was already probably 50, and he was still competing, and he still pretty much looked like that. He wasn't a natural bodybuilder, but he was, my friend Charlie was, and my friend Charlie knew this guy, and Leon was damn near a natural bodybuilder. He's the type of guy that truly used steroids the way that if you have to use them, they should be used. He used them before a contest in small amounts pounds like Deca and some other drug a little bit to just hold. The hardest part, you can get big naturally if you have good genetics. The hardest part is when you start dieting, which is basically a controlled form of starvation. You might be doing cardio, you might be doing a lot of sets and reps, is really holding your muscle as you're doing it. That's really where the steroids come in handy. And so when guys purely build their bodies with steroids, like they can't build any muscle on their own, I'm kind of like, wow, that's pathetic. I was bench pressing 400 something pounds totally without drugs. You can get big and strong without drugs. You're not going to get freakishly so unless you genetically have a really strong inclination for it. But you can definitely build a lot of muscles without steroids. I mean, it's ridiculous the way people think that you have to take drugs to get bigger. Here's a picture of Arnold. He's getting ready to do a set of legs there. Again, not the best thighs, but just the overall physique is just incredible. I'm not sure who that is behind him. Looks like maybe Denny Gable, I'm thinking. He's another bodybuilder. Over here's him doing a set of squats with some good weight. I can't squat anymore, unfortunately, because of my lower back. But I do front squats. It's a hard exercise, but it just doesn't put the same pressure on my lower back. So while I don't do free weight back squats, I do front squats, which are really good exercise. But you can't use as much weight. So if I was going to do, I would never lift like I used to lift. But let's say, until I quit, I was doing up to like 400. For me, a heavy front squat will be like 225 for 10 to 12 reps. And so, it's less stress in my joints, but it's still, my quadriceps still look pretty good with that. Here's an exercise, a lot of Arnold in this book, beautiful photographs. And I should say the photographs are by George Butler. He was Charles Gaines's partner. Arnold doing the exercise that we used to call that exercise when you take the barbell, bring it to your forehead. We used to call it a French press in the old days. A French press, and then technically it's a lying easy curl bar, tricep extension to the forehead, I guess. But these days kids call it skull crusher, and I don't like that name because it reinforces negativity. I think when you train and you call things by names that imply injury, or you talk about, like kids say, oh, he's going to snap his back doing that, and always emphasis on the negative aspects of things. I don't want to be metaphysical or, anything, but I do think that it sets you up to have an accident when you go or to have poor performance when you give things a negative name. And I remember Frank Zane said something about that he'd always use positive reinforcement. He's practiced a lot of meditation. And he said one time he was saying how he was pissed about something, about his placement at a show or something, and the lawn chair split and a shard of metal went to his urethra. And he had to get hospitalized, and he placed poorly in the upcoming contest. And he said kind of the manifestation of being pissed came to life. I don't believe that, but I think there was a point to the idea of being positive about your exercises. Here's Franco Colombo. He's Arnold's friend. Franco was incredibly strong. Arnold, in his eulogy to Franco drowned a few years ago. He was still in great shape. He was thin, but very cardiovascularly fit. Franco, people maybe don't know this, but Franco, besides winning Mr. Olympia twice, was Italian lightweight boxing champ when he was younger. He's a very good soccer football player. He went in the world's strongest man contest. Now, this had all these 300-pound powerlifting guys, like Olympic weightlifters, guys like that. And Franco went in as a bodybuilder who was only 5'5", 5'6", and maybe 185 pounds. And he ended up blowing out his knee or having a severe leg injury doing a refrigerator carry, which I saw it on TV. Cameras kind of went off it pretty quick because it was pretty horrific. But at any rate, he came back after that and won Mr. Olympia, but he was always in great shape. He ended up being a chiropractor, ate well. But he went swimming, and I think he was on heart meds, and Arnold said he was very negligent in taking them. And so he probably had some sort of a heart issue while he was out there swimming in deep water, and nobody rescued him, and he drowned. And so here's Arnold checking his abs in the mirror. He's looking crisp. I love these old school guys. A lot of pictures of Arnold in here, but there's pictures of other guys as well, and we'll try to find some. Here's just a normal dude. I like this book as well because they feature just pictures of some guys who are getting going in the gym. That's how we usually all start out. I'm not sure if there's Mid-City Gym. I've been there. That's in Manhattan. Been there back in the day. I don't recognize the equipment. But here's an exercise we used to do back in the day. I used to do it with my friend Scott. Scott played for the New York Jets. Didn't have a lot of calf equipment in the old days. You could do calves on the leg press, You could do calves on the Smith machine, like a standing calf raise, put a block under you or some 25-pound plates. You could do them with a barbell standing on something, but another way you could do them where you get a direct line of force over your calves, have somebody sitting on your back, and we call it a donkey calf raise. And so my friend Scott, who played with the Jets, he used to do them on my back and vice versa. He didn't need them. He had huge calves. I've always had huge thighs, but my calves always were kind of a little higher and not as well developed as my upper legs. It's just genetics, but I still do calves. I do them usually every other workout now, so I usually do them several times a week while I do everything else maybe twice every 10 days. I do calves more frequently, and I don't do a lot of sets, but I do them hard when I do them, and they're not bad. They look better than the average person walking around, but not like my thighs. And so here's another picture of it. It was really a popular calf exercise. What's funny is that time period in bodybuilding, although the thighs generally were not huge on most guys, there was a lot of emphasis on the calves because the calves really give you a very athletic, muscular, fit type of look. You can have massive upper legs, and here's more. Here's a picture of Franco doing what they call seated calf raises. That's a variation of a calf raise. Kind of works the lower part of the calf, what's called the soleus more. I do them when I'm in a commercial gym if they have that equipment. It's nothing that big if you miss it because you can take yourself on a regular calf machine, just bend your legs a little bit. Some people say it's a useless exercise. I disagree with that. The soleus muscle, which runs under the calf, they say you're going to give you cankles. No, it actually goes under the gastrocnemius and can push it out and give you more overall size and make things just come out better. So it's when they say that, I'm like, there's no exercises that are really useless. It's the utility depends on what you need. Here's Arnold doing some curls. He's using the famous, what they call the arm blaster back in the day. Do I have one laying around here? I used to have one, maybe somewhere in the closet somewhere. I had one when I was a kid. You do your easy curl bar curls using that. It would kind of force your elbows in, a little bit more tension on the bicep. But, sometimes you want to loosen up the form a little bit too and move more weight, like people say a cheat curl and everybody cringes, but a light cheating motion, a little bit, not huge momentum, to get the weight up and lowering it down as well can really work well. Here's a guy, Mike Katz. I've only seen him as a post-competition. He's a gym owner in Connecticut right now. I believe he owns a Planet Fitness there. I was hanging out with a woman who knew him. She didn't even know he ever won Mr. Universe back in the day. He's in the Pumping Iron movie as well, playing the role of what he is. He was a school teacher, family man, and bodybuilding was definitely a side hobby. Not a hobby, but, it was something he did on the side because here he's walking down the streets of Baghdad. This book covers the preparation for the Mr. Olympia, I believe 1975, and maybe the 74, 75 Mr. Universe, the amateur in Baghdad. And so it has both amateurs and pros in it. And Big Mike is still around. Oh, man, here's the guy. Now, he's not in contest shape here, and that's kind of the point. This guy, if they have pictures of him when he is competing, he's amazing. That's Steve Mihalik. Now, he died. God bless his soul. He killed himself a few years ago. I knew Steve. Steve was a good guy, crazy as hell. And if he's looking down, he will know that I mean it in good spirits. Steve had a gym in Nassau County. I've been there probably about a dozen times when I was younger, go with my friends. To go check out, it was a hardcore bodybuilding gym. And Steve won Mr. America back in Arnold's time. He was older. He was at the time maybe 35. 40-ish. We were young. He's a good 20 years old. Was a good 20 years older than me. And so he was like, this guy, I don't know, these days they would say he has some sort of a mental or social issue. We just said the guy was a nut back in the day. But he would be like, he would put duct tape, or not, police tape around himself when he was training. He said, you better not come in here. I'll be kicking your ass. And so, he would. It was the kind of gym, his Mr. America gym, where you could go out in the lot and get in a fight, and then you come back in all battered up, and you'd be working out with the same guy laughing. It was a zany place. There was a lot of hardcore bodybuilders in there. I was just a big kid working out, but there was guys in there like him, and then John Defendis, who later on won, I want to say Mr. USA. Jerry Scalise, I actually use his weights right now. I don't know him that well personally. He's a friend of a friend, but I needed some weights during COVID, and a friend said, well, Jerry probably has some extra weights. You can buy some from him, and I did. He came over with 400 pounds of weights, and I was able to train at my house. I just had a couple 50-pound dumbbells before that. I didn't want to go out in COVID, even when the gyms opened up, because I was taking care of an elderly person. I wasn't worried about it myself. But Steve, he looks in his picture, would hang out, and he looked like a normal dude. He was athletic. He did track when he was younger. I forgot if he did something like, I forgot if it was pole vault or something like that. He was a track athlete, taller guy. He was like 6'2", good proportion, but tall, lean guy. And you'd see him maybe be like, I don't know, he's like 6'2", so he's probably about 200. Then you come back like 2 months later, and the guy would be a rock solid 250. And you're like, Steve took, and this is, anybody knows him, this is just truthful. He took a lot of steroids, and I hope they have some pictures of his physique in here. I forget what pictures are in here, but when he took them, and when he took them in, I would say heavy dosages, like they weren't exotic drugs, but it was just like Dianabol and Deca and things like that, but he took a lot. And I was like, I'd hear from buddies, like some of the things he did, and I'd sometimes call BS on some of it. Like one guy was saying, like, Steve is so hardcore, he'll go and get like, from one of the schools around here, monkey brains, and he'll grind it up and just chug it to try to get monkey growth hormone, because this was before you could get artificial growth hormone made for you. This was back in the 80s, I guess. This was the mid-80s, late 80s. And so I was like, oh, he's not going to drink monkey brains. But years later, it was some kind of an interview online. You can probably find it somewhere. But the interview, and somebody asked him, is that story true about that? And also that you used to inject snake venom for some reason or not? And he said, yeah, I did that. He said, it didn't work well. He thinks my jaw got bigger. Well, I'm a chemist, and I'll tell you, if you ingest growth hormone, it should not work. And I'm always never going to say never. I'm never going to say never. But it shouldn't work because it's not a steroid. It's a peptidal hormone that should get lysed, meaning broken apart in your stomach from the acid. It should break apart into either free-form amino acids or some shorter chains, but it should not stay bioactive. But, who knows? I mean, it's a monkey brain. Here's my man, Serge Nubret. This guy, I talk about him every time I see him. I just think this guy's physique is just dynamite. I mean, like, I would not want to be any more than that. That is plenty big. It's plenty developed. It looks powerful, but it still looks like a human being. I can't show this picture. They got a topless girl in here. I don't know if you can or not. But back in the day, everybody wasn't all grinchy about stuff. This is a picture of Franco doing one of his feats of strength. When you look at it at first, that's Franco hanging upside down. There's Arnold, a couple of attractive young women hanging out, checking out the scene. You want to think that he has inversion boots on, but Franco could hold himself up just using his feet. He, like Arnold said when at his Franco's eulogy at the Arnold Classic, he said Franco was a subhuman. Now, he didn't mean in a bad way. He said he was like strong like an ape, like a chimpanzee or an animal like that. That no matter how big and muscular you are, I take the strongest guy on earth, and if I threw him in a cage with a chimp, I would put my money on a chimp all day. The chimp could dismember you. And but that's kind of how the strength of Franco was. Franco was way stronger than Arnold and these guys from everything I've read, and I've seen videos of him. At my strongest, and I was 250, the most I could ever bench was 500. It was 495 with plates, and then we used to have the 5-poundish York collars. I didn't know how much they weighed, so I used to say 595. I didn't want to exaggerate, but it was probably a little over 500. And I did it for one good rep, good form, and it felt heavy as hell to me. Now that's 250, so it was twice my body weight. Franco at 180 and in good condition could bench press 545, 550, depending on who you read. That's insane for a guy that body weight. That's insane. It's like, and being lean. He wasn't like a fat guy. When you're fat, you got a little bit of cushioning around your joints. You got a little bit of lubrication going there. But when you're dry and lean for a contest, you'll see Franco deadlifting 700 pounds for reps, and he's like shredded. And it's like, I'm not saying nobody can do it, but I'm just saying when you do see somebody doing that and a whole bunch of other consistent lifts, and they're only 180, 100 and something pounds like that, that's amazing. That's real strength, and not training for strength, just training like a bodybuilder and being that strong. Arnold's just always hanging out on the beach here, just showing off his body to the women there. She's checking him out. She's kind of not really, she doesn't really look that attractive. She's more like, check this dude out. A lot of scenes of these guys hanging out outside, catching some, I don't know who this guy is, but he's hitting a dramatic pose here. Well, I love these black and white photos, though. It's can't go through all the pictures in this books, but should certainly go. I like that they put some of the Greek statues in here. They showed some classic pictures of the ancient Greek photos. I don't know if I could show pictures like that because they're nude statues, but to me it's art. Here's a classic Michelangelo. One of my friends went to Italy. He's a real New York Italiano, and he saw some of these statues, but I don't think the guy really appreciated it. He's like, I want to get back to the hotel here. It's here's this guy, Leon Brown's back. He was just absolutely chiseled, Not a big guy, but just great definition, great muscle maturity. When we say that, that means like the muscles, they've been trained for a long time, and they have good dimensionality to them, a lot of detail, a lot of grit and graininess to the muscle, vascularity. It's like a well-developed muscle, even if it's not gigantic. Sometimes you see a big flubby muscle, but these are like hard, dense muscles. Here's the father of modern bodybuilding, you could say, Eugene Sandow, 1890-ish. Used to put alabaster on his body. These guys used to try to get all tan these days, unless you're dark-skinned person. And still a lot of black dudes I know who were lighter would tan. Even guys that were dark would go out in the sun just to draw water out from under their skin. They really weren't trying to get darker. But in the old days, they used to put like white powder on their bodies to look, I don't know, I guess they made them look like an alabaster or a marble statue, I guess was the effect. A lot of pictures of the old-timers here. Here's Sid Klein. He was an old-time guy. Early 1900s, who was a strong man, but he wasn't like a fat strong man. He was like a chiseled strong man. So what was happening was we went from like the big, stocky 300-pound guys to guys who were more like chiseled. They were sporting the grape leaf type of thing, like this dude over here. Can't show you all the pictures because some of them are nude, but like, now they're getting into guys that are strong, but like they're getting builds. This is before steroids. These are just well-built men again, It's like, we were on steroids back in 1890. No. That's what the kids these days, everything like, I'll have kids in the gym come up to me and they'll be like, do you take, they ask, they want to know about drugs. It's like everything's a cheesy, easy way out. It's like train 5 or 10 years before you even think about taking a drug. It's stupid, especially when you can tell the kid doesn't have any genetics for it, in most cases. Here's the old classic man insulted on the beach ad and wants to get a body like Charles Atlas, which was impressive for back in the 40s, I guess. Classic ad, used to be in all the comic books and so forth. A lot of artistic photos, like, really stereotyped. They have the black dude who's a muscle man dressed up tribal, that's how they did it back in the day, let's be real. But it looks cool, I wouldn't mess with it. This guy had a physique. This guy, for the 40s and 50s, that's my man, Steve Reeves. He was in some classic, let's get the calves in there too, because the calves are freaking nice. Look at that waistline. It's just like not there. He's got perfect proportion, great legs. They didn't have leg equipment. This guy is just doing free barbell squats and stiff leg deadlifts and things like that. Just like, I don't know how he did calves, probably just did one leg dumbbell calf raises or maybe a donkey calf with his friend. He had a book. I somewhere here, I'll break it out. It's called Steve Reeves Classic Bodybuilding, something like that. And he talks about, like, they show some of the equipment he made in that. Like, he made his own crude, like, hack squat or something like that. And, he was great. He's in, if you ever get to check out the Italian Hercules movies, they're fantastic. I mean, they're dubbed and so forth. He didn't speak Italian. He did them in English, and then they had to, how do you say this? They did in English, and they put his voice over in Italian when he played in Italy, but then they redubbed him in English, but it's not his own voice. It's just the craziest thing. Here's Lou Ferrigno on the cover of one of the muscle magazines back in the day. This is definitely a young Lou. Lou's probably been in his 70s now, early 70s, I'd say. I've only seen Lou in the audience at a show. He was definitely slimmed down, which is good. That means, like, dude's, like, not taking drugs, and he's just relaxing his body. When I see guys, bodybuilders, and they're not all pumped up, I'm like, cool. The guy's, like, fit and not trying to hurt himself. Here's Franco. Franco had great muscularity. I mean, not the perfect proportions, all this and that, but like very dense, hard, gritty muscle, particularly the chest, the abs, and the back. Legs weren't so great. Arms weren't the hugest, but like he had a big man's torso. If you here's a picture of him doing a kneeling back shot, you can just see, the density on that back. Heavy deadlifts, heavy T-bar rows, and a lot of pull-ups. He would subscribe. He just used body weight, but he just did set after set after set of pull-ups. I can't really do pull-ups anymore because it hurts my shoulder every time I do them, and like something in my forearm. I used to love them. When I see young guys like not doing them, like just doing the machines, which I do now that I'm older, but I'm kind of like, wow, you're missing out on a great fundamental exercise, especially when you're growing and developing. I like these pictures of just these guys hanging out. Like you can see that they're just wearing clothes. You know, they're built, but like they're not huge. You know, they just look like well-built men wearing groovy clothes. I don't know who he is. These are amateurs, I guess. Bob Klez. Here's a picture of him oiling up backstage. You'll see he's like amateurs. You know, good build. Not freaky, but just looking good. And that's what I liked about bodybuilding, where you say like, wow, that guy's got a good build. It doesn't have to be a freak. These days the pros, the open pros, are all freaks. I mean, let's be real here. I was really hoping to find a picture of my man Steve Mihalik here. There's something in the book here of him. Here's Franco standing there. You get the idea. Proportions aren't 100%. But he did win the Olympia, and he won it twice. The second win was extremely controversial. The second win, he beat, I want to say, Chris Dickerson, maybe Tom Platz. Now, I'm not a big Tom Platz guy, but like there was a whole bunch of guys in that show, and it wasn't the top three. It was like the guys I thought were great with Danny Padilla and Roy Callender. They were just smoking this dude when he came back. Now, he had a bad injury. I give him credit for that. But, he's still displaying your physique, and that's what it is at the end of the day. And, he was Arnold's friend, right? I think that kind of helped a little bit. We're not going to have time to go through all these pics, but certainly I'm running out of time on my phone. It's a really fun book. So I'll just say this. If you like the real and the memories of the old days, here's my man Frank Zane. Again, just another picture of dude chilling out and just looking like a built guy, and there's his beautiful wife Christine Zane. I like to picture them hanging out casually because it shows you they weren't like freakish and distorted looking. Here's Zane on stage. Let's end with this. This is bodybuilding right here. That's what it is. That's a beautiful physique. That to me is all you need. On that note, Pump and Iron, the book, Charles Gaines. Charles Gaines and George Butler. Good read. I'm running out of time, so good luck and goodbye. Have a good day. Wild Man Z out.